The show even managed to reach South Korea of all places. Hey, Lost Media Wiki, this means there's probably a Korean dub of this show floating around somewhere. Let's find it. Chop chop. Chop chop. Chop chop. Chop chop. Chop chop. In my review of Danger Rangers, I briefly brought up the fact this show had some sort of presence in South Korea, particularly this one statue of Bert that the official Twitter account showcased. I jokingly made light of a possible Korean dub for the Lost Media Wiki to find, knowing full well that finding dubs of Western animation is something they're starting to get sick of. Little did I know just what kind of rabbit hole I was getting myself into. Again. This is the story of how this little show from North Carolina made it big in South Korea. When it comes to overseas animation work, most cartoons are outsourced to South Korea for in-between animation. That's just common knowledge at this point. And Danger Rangers is no exception. In my original research, I discovered there were 2 Korean studios that worked on Danger Rangers. The pilot saw overseas animation done by Toon Zone Entertainment, a short-lived studio that had worked on episodes of The Simpsons, King of the Hill, and probably the one most important to today's topic, Shock Zone, a show that's a borderline distant cousin to Danger Rangers thanks in part to a handful of animators and the show's co-creator Larry Huber. The rest of the series onwards was handled by the Gangwon Information and Multimedia Corporation, aka GIMC. Founded in 2002, GIMC primarily did overseas work for anime in Japan, including things like Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha Strikers, Last Fleet, Rocket Girls, Devil May Cry the animated series, and a trio of Pokemon movies. They also have 2 original productions, Cloud Bread and Pom Pom and Friends, 2 shows aimed at preschoolers that, coincidentally enough, Larry Huber picked up for American distribution at Frederator. As far as I know, Danger Rangers is the only show from the US that GIMC ever worked on in its entirety. And more importantly, it was the only show that it picked up to air in South Korea.
애니메이션과 캐릭터 산업의 세계 중심으로 떠오르길 기대해봐야 되겠습니다. 송승용 기자입니다.
회전근에는 멈춘 다음에 내리고 모래놀이를 할 때는 신발을 벗지 말아야 합니다. 어린이들이 안전사고를 당하지 않도록 다양한 대처법이 흥미진진한 영상과 함께 소개됩니다. 지난 9월부터 미국 최대 공중파 방송인 CBS에서 방영되고 있는 애니메이션 데인저 레인저스입니다.
My actual rabbit hole dive began with a simple Google search. By some complete accident, I found GIMC's Facebook page for Danger Rangers. Like its American counterpart, it's been abandoned for a good chunk of the previous decade. Through this account, I found not only some pretty cool expression sketches, but full-blown model sheets that were very likely used by the animation department. And Sully's is ridiculously tiny. Looks like I got some model sheets to track down. Another thing I discovered through the account was GIMC's proper page on Facebook. Here, I found another link. A content platform known as Animate. One YouTube search later, and I find a GIMC animation reel on the Animate channel. Sure enough, Danger Rangers is featured in the highlight reel. Not only was I on the right track, I now had a proper translation for the title. Digging through the Animate YouTube channel, I struck gold. Right there were 2 episodes split in 2. And the language?
스케이트보드 탈 때 멋져 보이려고 안전장비 없이 타요. 그러다가 부딪혀서 머리 아프면 그 기분도 참담하죠.
Korean.
비상사태.
왜 그랬어, 뭐?
큰일 났어. 멕시코 칸쿤에 있는 세계 최대 규모의 물놀이 공원에 아주 엄청난 사고가 일어날 거라는 정보가 지금 막 들어온 거 있지.
데인저 레인저다! 데인저 레인저라고? 녀석들한테 우리 본부가 탄로나면 우리 계획은 물거품이 되고 말다고. 그렇게 되면 너희들은 뜨거운 물맛을 보게 될 것이다.
내가 제일 싫어하는 게
네가 못했어.
아니야, 네가 못했어.
하하, 맞아. 너희 둘 다 못했어. 그중 내가 제일 못됐고. 네가 못됐다고.
무슨 소리야? 네가 못했다.
우와, 저기 좀 봐.
언제까지 그렇게 핑계만 댈 거야? 넌 안전수칙을 한참이나 위반했어. 사고 친 것도 부족해서 풀장까지 망가뜨렸잖아. 그런 엄청난 짓을 하고도 남의 탓을 해?
아니 그게 아니라 맞아 내가 한 게 아니야. 가재랑 조개 녀석이 했대도 그래.
빨리 가서 청소나 하고 여길 떠나자고.
글쎄 정말이래도 난 그런 짓 안 해. 알면서. 이건 또 뭐야?
At long last, I found the Korean dub. Right off the bat, I noticed some interesting things about this dub. First off, the opening and end credits have been removed, or at the very least have been cut from these uploads. In addition, the title cards have also been cut, the show simply opening with a translated episode title flashing on screen instead. You also have a Korean Danger Rangers logo that occasionally shows up. What's really interesting about this is the fact that it doesn't translate to Danger Rangers at all. What's seen in the animation reel? That's a direct translation of Danger Rangers in Korean. On the translated logo, we get Go, Safety Rescue Team, which is about the most basic title you could give this show. And let me tell you, that doesn't translate well into Google searches. The quality of the dub itself, well, I'm not an expert in Korean dubs. I've never had that much of an interest in them, so anyone familiar with the subject matter would have a better answer than me. But there was one major question I had the moment I found this dub. Where's the rest of it? Of the 16 episodes this show had, Waterworks and Wild Wheels are the only episodes available on the Animate channel. One googling of the translation later and I found my answer. The results were odd, to say the least. According to this episode list, each Danger Rangers episode was split in half and aired over the course of 2 days. This would explain why the episodes are split into 2 separate videos on the Animate channel. The show aired in 2008, just before Chris Smith gained ownership, on the Educational Broadcasting System, a South Korean television channel that acts as the country's equivalent of PBS. As far as I know, only 13 of the 16 total episodes ever aired on EBS, the exceptions being the pilot and the 2 clip shows. The episode titles themselves were also changed up. When it comes to the dubcast, I was only able to find 3 of them. Sung Won Kyung as Sully, Lee Yong Shin as Kitty, and Yoo Gyun as Fallbot. Sung Won Kyung was the Korean voice of Bobobo, Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist, Rick O'Connell from the Mummy films, and Dogold from Kyoryu Sentai Kyoryuju, Power Rangers Dino Force. Lee Yong Shin voiced Temari from Naruto, Lisa Simpson, Sonoko Suzuki from Detective Conan, and Hoka Ozu from Maho Sentai Maji Ranger, Power Rangers Magic Force. Lastly, Yoo Gyun voiced Clam from Camp Lazlo, Thomas from Regular Show, Hawkeye from the MCU, and, oh yeah, Stan Lee.
Are you Tony's stank?
So even though I didn't find the entire thing, the Korean dub does exist and the rest of the episodes are out there, somewhere. But my journey didn't end here. There was still one more thing I had to find. That Bert statue that the official Danger Rangers Twitter account shared. According to the tweet, it was located in a park in Cheongnam in Korea. Looking up the place on Google gave me mixed results. The Cheongnam that I found on Google Maps was mostly farmland, with nary a park in sight. That's when I took a closer look at the picture of the statue. Behind the bushes looked to be trees held up by supports and what appeared to be a building. Wherever the statue was located, it was in a place that was frequently looked after. That's when I returned to GIMC for answers. If this was an actual thing located somewhere in South Korea, GIMC likely had something to do with it. What I found intrigued me. When I arrived at GIMC's website, I was met with an interesting link. Animation Museum and Toy Robot Hall. So, it turns out GIMC owns a museum in Chuncheon that focuses on animation from South Korea and beyond. In fact, it's the only museum in the country specifically catered to the art of animation. And on the museum's website was the mention of a character park. In the character park located outside the animation museum, you can actually meet various characters, create various memories with the characters. If there was a place where this bird statue could be, it was this museum. So with Google Maps in hand, I scouted out the museum, looking for my rangers. At first, I saw a few posters of the show. At the very least, it had some sort of presence here. Then, I saw something that the Twitter account failed to mention at all. Danger Rangers figurines. They didn't look like anything Educational Adventures or Mighty Kids put out. These looked like collectibles made by a third party for adult fans. Yet, here they were, on display in a museum far away from their home in North Carolina. And then, after more scrolling, I found it. At long last, I found the bird statue. But that's not all. There were statues of Kitty, Burble, and Sully as well. These statues may very well be the greatest testament to the passion Moore, Smith, and the Wests put into this show. Long after the show ended, long after the dust of the legal battle settled, long after all the sites relating to this show shut down, these statues are part of the last remaining remnants of this show's lasting impact. It just goes to show you that even though Danger Rangers has come and gone, at least there are people out there keeping the show alive in some way, shape, or form.